Comenzando con niños de 4 meses de edad, el doctor Jerome Kagan de la Universidad de Harvard ha identificado a niños propensos a la ansiedad y a aquellos que no lo son.
Blair is being presented with those interesting, colorful dolls, as you can see. And you'll notice that she's not highly aroused, she's not thrashing, she's not a lot of tension, and she's not crying. And those kinds of children become extrovert, sociable, not very fearful. If we look now at Lisa at the same age, looking at the very same stimulus, those colorful dolls, you see how tense she is. Look how she's thrashing her arms. And these kinds of children are biased to become shy, subdued, timid, and avoidant in the second and third
Now,
years.
I can see a certain biological survival value to that. I mean, if something comes and they're startled and that be a selective advantage?
Well, species studied, there are fearless ones, and it must be that each form has an adaptive quality. And if you thought about it, that would make sense, that every species needs a few bold ones to protect the group, that metaphor, and a few timid ones to stay back and not get injured, which means that you're right. There's a bit of advantage to both styles. So here is Lisa at 21 months. See, she's entered this room with her mother. She's never been in this room.
She's clinging to her mother.
Very reluctant to explore, quite apprehensive. Even though there's no one else in the room but her mother, the strangeness, the newness of it has made her timid. So that's really a classic example of the behavior that we call inhibited. So now you see Blair in the same room, and mother at once, she bounces on the mat. Oh, timid. Same room.
And this continues right on when they're 4?
Well, here Blair is being interviewer. She scribbled in this brand new book. Now you see, she isn't intimidated, so she says, "Well, why should I do that?" And that's classic behavior of the uninhibited. Now you see, now she's being asked, rip up the card, and since that's perfectly okay, she smiles and she does that because she knows it's okay. Even though she wonders, why do you want me to do that? She engages the adult in a...
She's always smiling and just so alert. And
we saw 400 children, and she had the most frequent, the highest number of smiles of any child.
Let's have a look at Lisa.
Yeah.
In
Well,
contrast.
Lisa, you see how Lisa just very obediently does every task, right? She does what she's told. She doesn't question. She doesn't talk. She's told to do something, and she does it, and of course, no smiling. The more fearful children are intimidated by the examiner, and so they don't have the courage to do what the adult asks them to do.
Contrast is amazing. I have a daughter who's very... This, of course, is a kind of impediment in society. But I've always been afraid that as we anxiously try to draw her out, we may actually further into her shyness.
It's an art form, but you don't want to overprotect such children. We now know that if you overprotect high reactive infants in the first year, then you make it harder for them to become average or more sociable. And it's better to treat them with the philosophy that recognize that you're a little easily aroused, but life's tough, and I'm going to help you get ready for life.
Aunque no llegan a ser en verdad con el tiempo, tímidos como Lisa, de 8 años, adquieren más seguridad.
Can we go in the sandbox? Sure. Okay.
Oh, you just pull them out, huh?
En Charleston, Deborah Baidel usa la terapia conductista para tratar a niños con timidez tan severa que justifica la denominación de fobia.
When you meet a shy child, initially they may seem very withdrawn. They don't really interact. But if you give them 10 or 15 minutes, they start to warm up and they start to act like other children. Children who have social phobia have a much more severe condition. They don't warm up after a few minutes. We're talking about children who have some limitations as a result of the condition.
A uno de esos niños. Ella misma recuerda cómo era.
Cry, and I didn't do my oral presentations. And sometimes I think I got bad grades because that was like a main part of it. And I was worried like what people would say about me because I cried so much. And I sat by myself and I didn't talk to anybody. And some people would say hi, and some people would come up and they'd say, "Are you antisocial?" And that would make me cry. So I spent a lot of my time crying.
Sarah told me that she was one of these kids that years later kids would not even remember being in their class because she didn't speak. And she dressed to blend in, to never draw attention to herself.
Era Sara cuando atención de la ansiedad en la Universidad de Carolina del Sur.
The first day that I went to the clinic, it was like terrifying. I went and looked people in the eyes, and I'd keep like bunched up and I'd be like fidgety. My clothes were like dumpy, and I wore that jacket, so I guess people thought that was the only thing I wore, but I have it zipped up, and I'd be like...
Interacting with other people is one way that all of us learn social behaviors. So if you don't have the opportunity to be around other children, you don't learn those skills. So an important component in our program is to have the children learn the types of skills that other children have learned naturally. Well, what we're going to do today, we're going to learn how to give compliments. And I have some cards that have some compliments on them. And so I will give you some cards. So at first, we don't have to really think of the compliments. We can just read them and practice giving them, okay? So here's a card for you. If you can think of your own compliments, that's so much better. All right, let me start out by saying, "Hi, Kent, how are you today?"
Good.
What's new?
Nothing really. You're the coolest kid.
Thank you very much. I think you're cool, too.
Actuar y mostrar en el ambiente seguro de una clínica es una cosa. Usarlas en el mundo exterior es otra. Las sesiones de exposición ayudan a jóvenes como Sara a superar temores tales como ordenar en un restaurante. Y en el curso de 12 semanas de terapia, adquieren más seguridad para socializar con otros niños.
It's done a wonderful change for her. It's like night and day. So no, it's good to see her now, happy, doing things, and actually enjoying them.
My life is very, very different because I actually have a life now. I'm in charge now instead of... I don't have to listen to that anymore.
I'm much better about washing now because I used to, every time we went to a restaurant or anything, I'd always go straight to the bathroom before we ate or before I did anything, and always wash my hands, or mostly any time I did anything like really important where I needed my hands to be clean.
She's always been very anxious, kind of a worrier. Her hands used to get chapped, but I thought it was hands getting chapped. I didn't realize she was washing them continuously.
Hasta que fue diagnosticada hace 6 meses, la condición de Larissa era un misterio.
She was showing some signs of being very unhappy with herself, in that she was saying she was worthless and life wasn't worth living and she was a bad person.
Like with my teachers, I always think, oh my gosh, I cheated on a test or something. Or sometimes I'll make myself believe I've stolen something or I've cheated or something like that.
She was worried she would hurt herself, or that she was worried that she wanted to hurt other people. That she would do things because she's very fond of little kids, and she was worried that if she was with little kids that she would hurt them. And some sexual thoughts she was having.
I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I think I noticed it because I was watching a thing on TV about it, and I noticed that I had things like that or something like that, but I noticed I had it from, hearing what it was actually about. So when I noticed it, I told my mom, as a joke kind of, but it really worked out that I had it.
John Piacentini dirige un programa de terapia conductista sobre el desorden obsesivo-compulsivo en la Universidad de Los Ángeles.
An obsession is a repetitive or intrusive thought or image or impulse or idea that's disturbing to the person. That's something that they don't want to think about. And it comes into their head and they can't get rid of it. And it really is distressing or upsetting or bothersome or frightening.
I felt like if I went into a store or anything, I always checked my pockets, did I take anything? And it seems so stupid, if I didn't have it and heard somebody saying this, that they think they stole something, I'd say to myself, just think, did you take anything? And then you didn't. But it really is hard,
To try to make these thoughts go away, individuals with OCD will then use rituals. They'll come up with some kind of a ritual or a compulsion to deal with the thought, to make their anxiety or distress disappear.
Usually when I count, I do it in my head, or, when I use my fingers.
You're not using your fingers. Oh.
Well, I would use my fingers and go 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. But it really didn't show that much. I also gotten things I have to say certain things, like 8 times or something. It started off like, the word I have to say a lot is like God forbid, because I always think if I think of something bad, I'd have to say God forbid or something. And then it would work out, now I have to say it like 8 times,
A compulsion basically is any kind of a repetitive movement or behavior. It can be mental, such as praying or counting or thinking in certain ways. It can be an actual physical behavior like hand washing or tapping or something like that. But the purpose of the compulsion is to basically deal with the obsession or make the obsession go away. What's your feeling thermometer right now?
El miedo a la contaminación es común entre los pacientes de DOC. Las sesiones de exposición los ayudan a ver que sus angustias son exageradas.
What is this?
It's like blood.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you grab that?
Now this, it goes up.
Okay, where's your feeling thermometer going to?
It goes up to like a 6 or a 7 or something, because I think, oh my God, is this like contaminated blood with a lot of germs in it and stuff?
Mm-hmm. Why don't you hold it with your whole hand?
And if it is.
Does that make your feeling thermometer go up higher?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you wish you could put that down and go wash your hands right now?
Yeah, and go really scrub them to get everything off.
What would that be doing to your OCD?
It would kind of be letting it bother me instead of taking care of it, showing that it can control me instead of I should control it.
How about if you touched it on your face? Would that make you more nervous?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you touch it on your cheek? Okay, really do it a lot. Okay.
Makes me nervous to think that, you think in some ways that it might cause something or might actually cause me getting AIDS, which scares me a lot. But then again, I know in some ways I can't, so it's kind of like voices in your head telling you different things.
Oh, you're doing those voices.
Thank you.
Otro síntoma de DOC son las voces persistentes que expresan ideas contradictorias.
Where's your feeling thermometer?
It still really hasn't changed that much. It's still like around 5 because I'm scared, but I'm not totally scared. It's kind of going down, I guess. I still, I guess, will always have the fear of it, but not as much. And like it won't take over my life anymore.
Well, that's what we're trying to do, is to keep these fears from interfering in your life. So just remember that when you're doing this. Remember why you're doing it.
Right.
Not that we want to just like stick blood all over you, because we don't. But you're doing it so you can get your life back.
Right. It's kind of gross.
In general, there's no cure for OCD, and we look at it as a lifelong condition. And a medical analogy that we oftentimes use with the parents and the kids is like diabetes, that we can...
compared to a lot of other kids who are on medication and stuff. But I'm sure, for me, it helps me knowing that there is some way, it's like when you're sick, when you've got a stomach ache, and when you know it's like a cold, you feel better because you know it's something to get over. So it's like with OCD, I know I'm not crazy, I know I'm worrying about something, but there's a way, it's not the end of the world and I can overcome it.
Randy Frost es psicólogo en el Smith College y tiene especial interés en un síntoma poco común del DOC. Beth ha padecido de DOC durante muchos años.
And that makes me extremely anxious because I see the salt as a destructive force. You can see it on the rust on the cars. It's not the sand. I always say sand and salt on the road. Sand is something friendly. It's from the earth. I like things that are from the earth, but not the earth too. But I've seen what it can do, and it makes me nervous on the... You won't find... Actually, I have 2 sealed packets of salt in case I want to, you know, like you get at a fast food joint, in case I want to use them in cooking. A little bit of salt in cooking, but other than that, this is a salt-free house, and it's not just my high blood pressure.
Well, why don't we take a tour of the rest of the house?
Okay, here we go.
A Beth